Hello, Rowena.
Hi, Carmen.
How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thanks so much for coming over today.
Yeah, because we're at your place. So this is your couch, your home. Very, very sweet home. You kind of share the story of the pieces of furniture. I like it. So you're the founder of Liquid Interiors, luxury and wellness-focused interior design business.
Yes, that's right.
You founded it 16 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. And you're also a board member of Women Entrepreneurs Network.
Yes, that's right.
Can you tell us a bit more about Women Entrepreneurs Network?
Yeah, sure. So the Women Entrepreneur Network is a platform in Hong Kong, and it empowers women entrepreneurs, and it's mainly focused on business education. Members teach members.
So, as I said, you're the founder of Liquid Interiors.
Mm-hmm.
You've always done that. Like even before that, when you went corporate, like you didn't have your business, you were in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you like about it?
Why do I like interior design? It's such a beautiful thing to be able to create a space. For me, it's, some people like makeup,
Yeah.
or they like film because you can, or writing books. You
Yeah.
can create a world. Where interior design is like creating a world, but you can actually create what's going to happen inside. It's so magical because depending on the colors you use, depending on the way you place the furniture, depending on whether you have plants or whether you don't have plants, it is a direct impact on what's going to happen and how people will feel inside. And I think it's just magic.
Okay.
When I first started my interior design firm 16 years ago in Hong Kong, it was about, bringing together sustainability and creativity together. I'm originally from Montreal, Canada, and, I grew up with recycling. I grew up with a lot of trees around me, and sustainability was kind of just regular, the way of life, whereas coming to Hong Kong at that time, it was non-existent.
Yeah.
So when I started, it was about, not really doing anything so innovative, but it was just kind of like, well, this is what the rest of the world is doing, and why can't we be more responsible with how we're designing and how we're disposing of things,
But you know what I like about that is that, well, you're a listener of my podcast. I love that. So you know that I like to dig and understand people's choices.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it brings you back to your childhood.
Yes.
And it's usually the case
Yes.
when you finally found your purpose, your passion, what drives you deeply. Not every time, but most of the time it's related to something about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a purpose for you. It's super deep, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess sustainability is a core value, and I really wanted to focus on sustainability. However, I was then also inspired by my nephew that became a cancer survivor at the age of 5, and my sister worked with a naturopath, and really just trying to see every way that they could boost his immune system. And there were a lot of suggestions that the naturopath gave about improving the home environment. And that really fascinated me. At the time, I was also working with another client where his whole family were cancer survivors, and he was the only one that did not have cancer. And he was a true believer that your immediate environment has a direct impact on your health and wellness.
For sure.
So at the time, we were working on his show flat, and he wanted to follow the well building standard. And it was quite amazing because when I looked at the well building standard and all the things that were suggested by the naturopath, there was really such a great fit. And for me, it was just so exciting to find an avenue where I can take all these philosophies in in a way that's proven scientifically, and in an international system where I can explain it to my clients. So bringing wellness into interior design and sustainability together, for me, that was the perfect fit.
Yeah.
It just felt right.
Business-wise, you found your niche, but as a human, you found your purpose.
Yes.
And it's not just a trend, because a lot of businesses, organizations, they use this sustainability trends, but it's not a trend. It's if you really mean it, it really has a purpose. So you grew your business. It's been 16 years. Wow. Well, first, congrats for that, because it's not an easy path. Are you living the life you were expecting when you were younger?
I probably never thought that I'd be living in Hong Kong.
Okay.
That's for sure. I didn't really have any ideas of where I'd be living, but I would definitely say that I am living my dream life.
Wow.
I think the things that I've always wanted to do is, be passionate about what I'm working on. For me, like, interior design is not even a job. It's just I'm doing something that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And every single time I walk into a new space, it just gives me, butterflies all over again. I love the process. I love working with people.
Yeah.
I love helping people and seeing that, we have a direct impact on people's lives.
So if we just rewind a little bit, you left your job when you were like in corporate, and then you started freelancing, and then you switched to being a business owner, to founding your own business, because it's a bit different to be a freelancer. Well, you're independent, but it's not exactly the same thing as having your own business, but also you have clients and you're independent. So tell us about the switch. Like, how did you switch from corporate to freelancing, from freelancing to having your limited company in Hong Kong?
Sure. Okay. So when I started working in interior design, I was working for a very large hospitality firm, and we were working on 5-star hotels in Macau, and it was a great experience. What I mean? Coming from Canada, where you just do a lot of like big box stores over and over again. You have to be able to work on like 5-star hotels in China and Macau.
That's pretty cool.
Wow, it would take so long to advance your career like that if you were in Canada.
And you have budget, so you can go wild if you want.
However, at the time, I had very little connection with the gold gilding, and it's
very Macau style.
It was over the top, and I didn't feel like my heart was into it.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was so early in the sustainability world, and I would talk to my bosses and say, oh, don't you think you can train your designers to become lead APs, or we can propose this to our clients, and they would say, oh, Rowena, there's no need for that. Nobody cares about sustainability. Our clients don't care about sustainability. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
So
yeah. When was that?
A stab in the heart.
Yeah.
That's like, say, 2006, 2007.
Okay.
Working in Hong Kong, and I had a lot of opportunities. I was doing great things, but then the financial crisis happened, and I went to a funeral in the U.S. and got an email saying that I got laid off.
Oh wow!
And I was like, whoa!
At a funeral.
It was kind of like there was
like no shame.
Yeah. You're in a low part of your life, and it just like,
and you wonder, and you wonder, how can this be even lower?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. However, at the time, I was already freelancing with a friend, and we were starting to do some interior design work on the side.
Okay.
So when that happened, I called him up and I said, "Guess who's full time now?"
Yeah.
You know? So yeah,
Blessing in disguise?
yeah, it was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
Because I had started freelancing knowing that one day I would love to have my own interior design firm, but you know,
It's scary.
yeah, you know, I didn't have savings. I didn't have, you know, he was living at home with his parents, and I was paying for everything myself. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just, you know, put one toe in, and then let's see how it goes, you know.
Yeah.
But this was my big
Yeah.
kick in the butt to actually like dive in.
Okay.
And I am so happy that happened, because otherwise I would have never gone full in, you know. Yeah, it wasn't easy at the beginning.
I imagine, yeah. So how long did you work as a freelancer before then switching to your own business?
Oh, I think we were only doing one project.
Okay.
It was, yeah.
So then what happened? Because you had this business partner.
Yeah.
So you had your business with this co-founder.
Yeah.
And then how did it happen until you found your niche that is your purpose and that suits you but not him?
Okay. So because I'm from Canada and he's actually from Hong Kong, so we had started a partnership together, and we are both passionate about sustainability, and so we started the company with the idea that we were going to have a sustainable interior design company. But then what happened after, you know, is that we kind of had two directions, and we were pulling, you know, he wanted to do more retail stores in China without that kind of like ethos. So it ended up me buying his shares, and then I just ended up taking over Liquid Interiors in Hong Kong, and he ended up moving away.
Okay.
So in fact, I found that it was a lot easier to run it on my own.
Okay.
Yeah, because one is that, you know, sometimes when there's two founders in different directions, that it's hard to direct. You know, your staff will be like, oh, okay, well, I'll go to this person for this, and they'll go, you know, they'll be selective to get things approved. Whereas when there was one direction, one ethos, it was a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was really surprised at the beginning as well. I was able to get help from the government. Like, so I, back in the day, there was the incubation program. So they like funded a lot of creatives at the time. So I had free rent for the first 2 years. I had some budget for marketing, and I know right now there's like a lot of the same kind of things happening with Science Park. Yeah. So yeah, I think like if you're trying to start your own small business, you know, look and see what kind of funding is out there, because Hong Kong is really a great place for startups, and there's actually a lot of support. Yeah. So we started that way. However, when I started, and then, you know, I always say that like it was like a divorce, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Splitting the company.
It is.
And,
it
you
is.
know, taking over on your own, but that again was like another big milestone in my own independence and running everything on my own. Yeah. And but in fact, it was a lot smoother after because there was one direction.
But because if you don't have the same vision, of course, it's not good for the business, for yourself, and then it builds up frustration. Mm-hmm. But I keep hearing a lot of entrepreneurs saying that you shouldn't do it alone, and that it's good to have a support team. Well, it doesn't mean you need a co-founder. Support team can be supportive husband or friends or other entrepreneurs or this podcast. But so who was your support team at the time? Because then you're the only founder, you know? Did you feel lonely?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely being an entrepreneur is very lonely.
Yes.
And, I think that this is where I was trying to find a network.
Okay.
And then this is where the Women's Entrepreneur Network really helped to fill that gap. One, at the time, female entrepreneurs are, not everyone has their own business. You can have a lot of friends, but how many of those friends actually own their own business, and how many of those people will be interested to listen to all the struggles that you're going through?
But even if they listen to the struggles, they don't understand, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I also have, I would say I don't really have friends that are entrepreneurs. I mean, my closest friends. So they listen to me, but they try to understand and suggest ideas and whatever, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah. And so when I found the Women's Entrepreneur Network, it was just amazing because all of these women are, going through exactly the same thing as I was going through. As well, maybe it's also nice to have that community of English-speaking women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we all have a lot in common. And it gave me the education that I didn't have in terms of entrepreneurship. Because, like a lot of creatives, you go to university and you focus on being creative, but the business side is something completely different.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of trial and error. I think nowadays with AI and all of these things, it's so much easier. But back in the day, everything was just all trial and error. Oh, that doesn't work. What should I do now?
Yeah. And you're alone to make your decisions. So I really relate to this. It feels lonely sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And then so with the Women's Entrepreneur Network, there's different workshops. So I remember one is like, how to create SOPs. I'm like, what is an SOP? And I'm like, I think that's something I should do.
Yeah.
So that I would go and I would learn and then, create like a little support group of the other people that joined that workshop. And then we push each other to learn and then learn through experience. So I think it's really, really important as an entrepreneur to never stop learning.
Yes.
Because, even if you think you know everything in one area, like, everything changes.
Yes. Yeah.
The market changes and then pretty much have to throw everything out the window and do it all again. Learning
and about your clients.
Yeah.
What they like. Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then also just being resourceful.
Yeah.
Like having people around that know more about other things.
Yes.
So if you have a network around you, people that are more that you can just talk to for marketing or for finance or for and then that's, I would say, what
makes you grow and also you grow your business.
Yeah, and the Women's Entrepreneur Network has helped me with that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's time for the fireside.
Okay.
What's your favorite place in the world?
In my hammock with my kids reading.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's my happy place.
I saw it upstairs. It's upstairs, right? Ah, cool. A color to ban from homes, if there's one.
Bright red.
I was about to say red as well. Yeah, it's very aggressive.
Yeah, and my parents were so patient with me because when I was exploring as a young teenager, I actually showed my parents a book from the library of a bathroom that was bright red.
For a bathroom? Wow, that's...
And they were so supportive. They're just like, okay, whatever you want to do. So they let me paint the whole bathroom bright red, and I put some wood sculptures around and...
Whoa.
Yeah, but it's something that I will never do again. Let's just say.
I mean, red is okay if you are a traditional Chinese restaurant. You know, like
even now that you would not see that.
no, but you know, last time I had dinner at the China Club restaurant,
Yeah.
and that's all red everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's fine because it's, you know, it's about the place. But in someone's home, red walls, especially bathroom. Wow.
Yeah.
Like you take a bath, it's not relaxing at all. Like you get mad if you, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I do have to like thank my parents though for letting me explore and be creative.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now I know what not to do.
Yeah. Your I made it purchase. Like a piece of jewelry or a bag or a piece of furniture.
I wouldn't say that it's a one thing, but
Okay.
I would say that, you know, having my place decorated the way it is now and having a place where I can have my mom stay with us
Okay.
is I made it, and I can have a place where I can have my mom stay.
Yes.
And to me, like, giving my kids that relationship with my mom is something I never had
Okay.
with my grandmother. So it's
Okay.
a rich
Okay.
experience.
Okay.
That I can say that this is success.
The oldest piece of furniture in your home. Okay, so we're back. Sorry, because we had a technical issue. I don't know what was happening, but you were talking about finding solutions as an entrepreneur. This is a good illustration of this.
Yeah.
The mic stopped working, so we had to find other mics, and Rowena had spare mics.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky that you had this. Otherwise, we couldn't have continued this episode.
Yeah, I always say that there are hundreds of ways to squeeze a lemon.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
You can step on it,
yeah.
you can,
Exactly.
smash
Okay.
it with a book, whatever. There's always another way of doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay, so we were in the middle of the fireside. So the last question for the fireside, you had time to think about it. An architect or designer that you admire.
So one of the designers that I really admire is Shay McGee. And I would say the reason why I love her is because she can really connect with people very well in terms of like a lifestyle. And, she's very successful in creating a brand story from her YouTube channel, and then she renovates houses. But it's like you get to know her. You get to know her family, and whether she's like selling furniture or doing a house, everything kind of like is encapsulated in her world.
Okay.
And, one day I would love to bring that to people in a way that encapsulates a wellness lifestyle. Something that is sustainable, something that, makes you feel better.
Okay. Now back to our questions. So let's talk a little bit about money, because it's you need to master your finances to grow your business. So that's the part that you have to learn. When you're a creative mind, you really have to, get your hands dirty in this. So how do you handle cash flow? Because it's a big question I talk about with a lot of entrepreneurs, whether it's when you start. So you talked about a Hong Kong government, you can access funding. So that's the thing when you start. But then once you're growing your business, how do you handle that? And when you have to pay for your salary, your team, all of this.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stages in being an entrepreneur from the beginning to now in 16 years. It really is about having a goal, and in my case, communicating that goal with your team, so that everyone's on the same page. So when I started doing that with my company, it was like day and night. you know,
Okay.
before decisions were made that didn't align with the company goals. And, you know, you realize it's not about them. It's because you haven't communicated what the goals are. So I would say that we started doing this like pre-COVID, you know. There were definitely ups and downs, but when you're in the down, you really have to figure out how to get yourself up again.
Yeah.
And it was, I guess, after the protests in 2019, where, you know, it was a struggle. You know, I've seen many struggles, ups and downs, but that was when we really kind of like looked into, okay, like what I'm doing right now isn't really working. So what can I do to bring us back up? And it was really just like really understand, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to know how to read your financial reports.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not hard now, because now, you know, we didn't have that before, but now you can just kind of like upload it into AI and get the analysis. Whereas before I didn't have that, but you know, it's just important to kind of like, you know, understand what was last year, what was the year before, what are you aiming for this year, and communicate that to the team. And so when I was able to do that, and then you don't have to show all the numbers to your team, but you can just be like, okay, you know, this past year we made 30% of the year before because of what's happened. Okay, so this year we're aiming for matching 2 years ago. You know, and the way to get there is, you know, we're going to focus on these types of projects rather than, you know, the ones that are fruitful, and then we're going to stop doing the ones that are not fruitful.
Prioritize.
Yeah. And when everyone's on the same page, then decisions will be made across the board to improve that.
Okay.
So, you know, like for example, just as an idea, you know, like we're not doing as many, we don't do partial renovations, we do full renovations.
Okay.
Because this is where, you know, it can help us get closer to our goal.
Okay.
So for example, when everyone knows that, then whoever picks up the phone and they will ask, oh, is it a partial renovation or is it a full renovation? You know, and things get filtered. So, you know, time is valuable. So then you can really focus on what will get you to the next level. And then it's important to keep your team updated, because you will not be able to do it alone. If you have a company with several people and you think that, you know, you as the business owner is the one that will bring the numbers up by yourself,
no way.
Never. You know, you're only as strong as, you know, the whole team altogether.
Okay. And throughout those 16 years of Liquid Interiors, so we touched a bit upon when you found your niche and you went your way. What did it change in terms of, well, different aspects, but in terms of mindset, like your mindset, also how your business operates, maybe the processes, when you found your niche, did things shift?
So when I had that personal connection to what I'm doing, which is, you know, that extra layer of sustainability plus wellness, and, you know, I really found that, okay, this is where I'm passionate, very, very passionate. I really felt that I was much more focused. You know, and yes, we split the company, and then, you know, but it was really that mind shift of saying, okay, like I can actually help people with what I'm doing. I can be creative, but I can actually help people. And to me, that made the world of a difference. And yeah, I think it's really important to find something that really excites you within.
Yeah.
You know, something that you would do because you know that's the right thing to do. Something that you do because you love, you know?
And what did this change in your business? Because this is your mindset and how you felt. But did you change, I don't know, the processes, for example, when you have a new lead coming in? did you start doing things differently?
I think the major shift was a culture shift. So when I really found that there was something that I was excited about, then it gives me something to talk about with the team. You know, actually, what we do weekly with our weekly meetings is we always revisit the mission. So with us, our mission is to create healing spaces.
Okay.
And our process is it's to nurture the creator, the created, and the natural world. So I put it out there every week, and I ask my team, okay, share a story of how you have experienced a shift in your wellness or in your habits with something that has changed in your environment, like within an interior, and or your lifestyle. So we we have so many stories from our staff. Like, for example, one of my designers said that, okay, one thing that has influenced her is, she went to a hotel where the lighting was so relaxing, and it was all indirect light. And she said that she was just so relaxed. And then she realized that, okay, it's not just about designing for other people. For us, it's about that process to help yourself as well. So, for example, when we look at sleep in our process, we have a kind of like a little survey to ask our clients, okay, what are your goals with sleep, and what are your habits?
Yeah.
And there's a kind of a checklist of things that can help improve your space. But for the process, it's about the designer to also look at that and say like, oh, am I also doing that for myself? And then maybe they can share a story about when they made a little change and how maybe it helped their kids, or and it's through those stories and sharing that will really help our clients visualize what it looks like.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
if it helps someone from your team, it would help also a new client.
Just like, for example, in my house, when it's time to wind down, I turn off all the lights except for the night lights.
Okay.
And my kids know, oh, now it's time to, wind down and get ready for bed. And so it's such a very, very basic thing to do. And, you can do it with a fancy home automation system, or you can just, turn off all lights, but you have a few, warm, dim lights, in the bathroom, in the bedroom.
I'll try that.
That can help you relax.
Okay.
And, you see the same thing when you go to, nice resorts in Bali. There's always that nice wind down lighting scene. And the more you explain that to clients and how it works with your kids or in your experience, then they'll realize, oh yeah, that is very important to have.
Can relate.
They can relate, and they can incorporate it into their spaces as well. Yeah.
And about finding your niche, do you think this is something we hear a lot, when you listen to other business podcasts or pieces of advice from other entrepreneurs? A lot of them would say, you need to find your niche in order to stand out from other businesses, especially in interior design. I guess there's a lot of competition, but for also a lot of other industries. Like lately, I was talking to someone from the beauty industry, cosmetics. Wow, it's saturated. So do you think a business owner needs to find their niche? Do you think it's a must when you have a business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. When I started Liquid Interiors, we were just, my first project was a very nice, sustainable office space. But then, we were just getting anything and everything that we can get. So we did everything from restaurants, nightclubs, anything, But then I I couldn't resonate with it. In Hong Kong, there's such a fast-paced environment where, people have 2-year leases. So I would spend all this time and effort doing this beautiful space. And then after 2 years, they would just shut it down and then open somewhere else. It didn't resonate with me in my ethos. So like, why will I put so much effort in something that is so non-permanent? I felt like it was a big waste.
Yeah.
Waste for everything. And so when I found my niche of like, okay, I really want to focus on lasting things, places that affect people's health and wellness, and part of the design is something that's timeless. Something that's not going to be torn down and renovated, or you don't have that need that it has to be so trendy that it has to be replaced. So having a niche that kind of like encapsulates your whole ethos is so important. When you don't have the right message, you will not attract the right kind of people. You can just say, yes, I do everything, but you will get everything. And then, you have to align your vision, your message.
Yes. Yeah.
And it is, whatever you put out there is whatever will come to you. So if you have a clear message saying that, yes, I can help people with their interiors to create their sanctuary, help them visualize, imagine coming home to a place that's relaxing with plants, a place that can help you improve your habits at home, or, be more focused at work, and that can align with, nature, then people can visualize that and say like, oh yeah, this is what I want. And then you'll attract the right people.
Okay.
Right? So but if you just say that, oh, well, I can do any interior, you may not.
But I think when you start, like if some of the listeners are new entrepreneurs, when you start, you have to say yes to everybody, and then you start to understand what makes sense to you.
I think it's more about like at the beginning, you don't know what you want to have. You don't know what your niche is because you haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
So it's very common for entrepreneurs to just do everything because they haven't found that thing that makes them spark,
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, when you're a kid and you don't know what sport you like, so your parents put you in everything, and then it's a normal thing.
Yes, yeah.
Like entrepreneurship is just like, school, kindergarten, elementary school, high school, university.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the same. So if someone says that they're like, they're in their 3rd year of their entrepreneur journey, I'm like, oh yeah, they're like grade 3. Like I know what you're dealing with.
Okay.
But yeah, once you find that, then you can align your message, your business plan. It will just become
smooth.
A lot smoother. Yeah.
I have a question about you, because last time you told me about a big project coming up. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so it's a project we're currently working on. It's with the Ladies Recreation Club. And
what is that?
It's a private members club, and they have a lot of sports facilities, interior sports. So they have tennis courts, they have pools, but then inside they have different kinds of areas for kids and adults. But the 2 areas that we're working on are 2 entertainment areas. One is a kids area for indoor playground and library. Mm-hmm. And then another area is going to be an arcade area for tweens to adults. So that's going to be more of like the bowling alley, video game area, golf simulation area. So it's super fun. And one of the things that I really love is that they chose Liquid Interiors because of our ethos for health, for healthy and sustainable spaces. And their goals, they have their own sustainability goals within the club. And for them, they really felt that we can help align with their goals. So we're also aiming to to have it certified.
Okay.
A lead silver. We're aiming for that. So that's an international interior design certification system.
Okay.
Where we'll be able to, have the stamp saying that,
Yeah.
this was our process and it's verified as
Wow.
well. So yeah, that's
Exciting.
very, very exciting to be recognized by a prestigious club like that.
Yeah.
And then, also once we can get the certification to show that that club has that commitment to sustainability and wellness. Yeah.
Wow, exciting. Last question. So the signature question of the podcast. Is there any lessons that you learned and that you would like to share with fellow entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs?
Yes, absolutely. I think that you have to find something that you're passionate about. Entrepreneurship is a lonely, long, and gruesome journey. And, if it's not easy to stick with it unless you love it. And you have to have grit to be able to make it.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing something you love, it's going to be so much harder to stick with.
You're not going to last long.
No. Don't do it because of the numbers only. Don't do it because, it's the trending thing. Those kinds of businesses will not last long.
No.
If you really want to have something sustainable for your life, you must find something that gives you purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Rowena. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for, I think it was very relatable what you said, and I really liked the question about the finding your niche and the need to find your niche. And last word, and as I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, Rowena, you are a board member of Women Entrepreneurs Network. So if you listeners want to learn more about this and get an introduction, you can reach out to Rowena.
Yes, please reach out to me, and I'm so happy to introduce you to the Women's Entrepreneur Network, and hopefully it can have that sense of, you can experience that sense of community that I experienced.
Cool. Thank you so much again. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.